A little less than 2 months ago, we found out that we were pregnant, and what started as one of the best days of our lives, a few weeks later turned into one of the worst. And that's because she experienced an ectopic pregnancy. As most of you know, I shared my version of the story and kind of my emotions behind what happened, but I wanted to give her the opportunity to say her side because she's the one that physically went through all of this. We just wanted to share this because not only was it heartbreaking for us, but we kind of want to bring awareness to the situation because I know it can happen all around the world. So this started July 6th when we went to New York to visit my family. And as soon as we got to New York, for some reason, I just got hit with the worst, sickness. I don't know if it was food poisoning or if it was travel sickness because we drove, but long story short, I was just super, super sick. And ironically, it was like a morning sickness. Anything I smelled, like the most normal smelling things, just turned me off so much. I was throwing up. I had all types of issues with my stomach, and it was just extremely confusing as to why it was happening. But that was like the initial start of something is going on.
I kind of had some of the same symptoms too, not the sickness, but smells were really throwing me off. I remember we were driving home from the beach and something just smelled like urine so bad it made me throw up, or made me want to throw up.
Yeah, so the whole trip, for me, it could have just been a coincidence. Literally, the whole beginning of the trip, something was just off in the air. But again, we thought it was just maybe travel sickness or I ate something bad.
Also, the entire trip, we were noticing that I was eating a lot of sugar. I normally, on an every day-to-day basis, I never crave sweets or candy or anything like that. But during this trip, I was constantly craving ice cream and candies and cookies.
And normally that's me. So, and I'm the one that mentioned it because on our way home, I remember looking at, mind you, this drive was like 19 plus hours. So we were in the car for a while and we had a lot of snacks in there and stuff. But every time we would stop at a gas station, she would be craving specific things. So at one point she was craving meat and cheese platters or something, but a specific type of meat and cheese. It couldn't just be anyone that the gas station had. It had to be particular, and no place ever had it. And then on top of that, when we were in the car, she was just eating so much candy, and I noticed that normally she's not like that. So I asked her, and I'm like, you good? You're eating an awful lot of candy. Do you? But, so that was a huge sign that what the heck is going on? But my mind still was not going to pregnancy at all.
My feet swelled up at the beach.
Yeah.
So this whole time my feet were swollen. They were hurting really bad. I thought it was because I was on them a lot more than I'm used to, or maybe running around, because we did a lot on that vacation. We packed in a lot. But my feet started really hurting and swelling up. And they started swelling at the ankle, and then it was a real slow progression of swelling. But then when we got in the car, they kind of ballooned up. They were real big, or it's particularly just my left foot, but it was really, really big to the point where we went to the hospital as soon as we got home. And the reason we went to the hospital is because we were considering it might be a blood clot because we just traveled, so much, and travel does kind of increase your chances of blood clots. So then when I got to the hospital, I told them I was scared of blood clots. They did ask me if it was a possibility that I was pregnant. And whenever they asked me that, it kind of dawned on me that really makes sense. I could definitely be pregnant. So I told them yes, I wanted a P test. I told them about 3 times, I really think I could be pregnant. And I kind of shifted my focus away from blood clot towards maybe I'm pregnant. So they asked for a pee sample. After they took my pee sample, they did follow-up tests. They did blood tests. They did an ultrasound on my leg. They did the Doppler to make sure blood was flowing. And then the doctor came back and he said, I think you might have early onset lymphedema. So at this time, I thought they did the pregnancy test. It was negative, and that's why they didn't say anything about it. So I thought I was negative this whole time. So all of this happened on July 18th. And it was almost like I kept getting signs that I was pregnant between that and July 25th. July 25th is when I was at work and I was like, I'm several days late on my period. Let me just take a pregnancy test. Yeah.
The day she went to the hospital for her feet swelling and whatnot, like I said, I had gone home to unpack and return our rental car. So I was oblivious to her getting a pregnancy test done there, and I don't understand like the protocols they're supposed to do anyway. So my mind was never to pregnancy. And then this part, when she was at work, I had nothing to do with this part at this point.
So while I was at work, I bought a pregnancy test and I went to the bathroom and I took my pregnancy test. And it showed up so quick that the 2 lines showed up so quick that I thought it might be broken. So I did a couple pregnancy tests. I did the second test and it ended up being positive as well. I fully intended on keeping everything a secret until at least around Kyle's birthday, which is August 8th. We were getting ready for bed and I went to the bathroom and I noticed I started bleeding that same night. So then I knew I had to tell him because I'm not supposed to be bleeding. I'm pregnant. I'm very pregnant. So I told him, I was like, hey, I don't remember how I told you.
We played it out. You were like, I have like a big surprise for your birthday or something. And I was like, well, just tell me. And then I was like, well, what does that have to do with? Because I'm a nervous wreck when it comes to secrets. So I'm like, what could this secret be? So then she was kind of hinting and she was like, well, it has to do with like medical. And I was like, well, now you have to tell me because we ain't hiding no medical issues. So tell me now. So then that kind of like led her to end up telling me.
Yeah. So I told him that I was pregnant and he didn't believe me. And at this point, I hadn't told him that I was bleeding yet because I just needed to see his reaction. So I told him that I was pregnant and he really didn't believe me. Everything was closed because I think it was like 11 o'clock at this point, 11 or 12. It's pretty late at night. And he didn't believe me. And I'd sent the pregnancy test off with my friend because she came up to work to see me. And I sent the pregnancy test off with her so that way there was no way of him finding them. So he wanted to see a pregnancy test. He wanted me to take a pregnancy test.
We drove like 30 minutes away from where we live because it was like 11 o'clock at night and there was only one CVS open.
He wanted me to take every one of them. Every single one of them. And we can throw in a little clip here where I took the pregnancy test and he's kind of just realizing like this is real.
Oh, damn.
Told you.
Ow.
I told you. Naturally, in your mind, one of the biggest questions that after trying for so long and it not happening, and we really never even came close to it happening, to now all of a sudden we're pregnant, the biggest question in your mind is how? How did this happen?
Yeah, my reaction was, but it's just like, again, like she said, when you've been trying for so long and then it finally happens, it's hard to be excited because it's like, I don't know, it's like, it's too good to be true. This can't be real.
Then I ended up telling him, I'm like, okay, the bleeding's getting a little bit heavier. We should probably go to the hospital because I'm not supposed to be bleeding. So we go to the hospital and Kyle's so excited, but he's also scared. And Kyle really worked hard on making sure he doesn't get his hopes up through the whole thing, whereas I did not.
You fully sent it. Like,
I did.
As soon as she found out she was pregnant, she was like, all right, well, the baby's name is this, to this, to this, to this. And it's like, let's take a second time.
I had 5 baby registries set up in maybe 2 days. I had my Amazon done. I had my Target done. I had my Walmart done. I had so many things.
She was ready.
I signed up for all the little mom things. I was fully committed to doing this again. At the hospital, I asked for an ultrasound. I said, I'm not supposed to bleed. Is there any way we could do an ultrasound? And the doctor told me it was too soon to do an ultrasound. My HCG levels were in the 400s, so the doctor came in. He's like, well, you got to be around 2 weeks. And mind you, the way we have to go about getting pregnant is very timed. I knew exactly when my date of conception was, which was not 2 weeks. It was probably about 4 or 5 weeks. I think it was 5 weeks and 2 days at that point. And I told him, I was like, no, there's no way. But we kind of dropped it. So my HCG levels were way too low to be 5.5 weeks along. The nurse came in and she said, we really think it could be implantation bleeding. I think you're all right. They said you're about 2 weeks along, which I assume they might have been going from a different timeline, but I knew my conception date was a certain date, and it was 5 weeks and 2 days before prior. So we left, and I got my hopes back up. And so I'm sitting here, I'm doing registries, I'm doing all the things that you do to prepare for having a baby. So on July 29th, I woke up and I was bleeding really heavily. And I started hurting real bad. And I knew something was wrong. I could just tell something was wrong because the amount of pain that I was in when I woke up, and then the extra bleeding as well, just kind of told me something was wrong. So I called Kyle. I was like, hey, I'm going to the hospital. He was at work at this time. But when I got to the hospital, I told them that I was bleeding really heavily, but there was no clots, because that was one of the questions they asked me. They asked me if there was clots. I said, no clots, just heavy bleeding and pain. And so they did an ultrasound. This is the first ultrasound that I've got this whole time. Although we've requested one, we requested one last time. And in this hospital visit, they did an ultrasound and they saw that my uterus was empty. And my HCG levels had gone down to the 100s level, somewhere in the 100s. And so with the empty uterus, and not only an empty uterus, but there was in the uterus, in the notes, it says no signs of pregnancy. So that right there should have been enough for them to say, okay, where's the pregnancy? Because we knew she was pregnant. Now she's showing no signs of pregnancy. What happened? They came in and they told me, they were like, you must have passed the clots and not realized it. And I promised them, I was like, no, I didn't. I promise you, I'm very aware of what goes on with my body. I did not pass any clots. And so they kind of dismissed me a little bit and they let me go. From there, I did a couple follow-up appointments with HCG levels. My HCG level the next time I went to the doctor was in the 100s. I think it was the next day after the hospital. My HCG levels were still in the 100s. And then I had a follow-up HCG level the next week, and my HCG levels had gone up to 400s again, 480s, which tells the doctor I'm still pregnant. Now, the day before I got the news of my HCG levels going up, my entire body started to hurt really bad, my right-hand side. So this whole time, my right leg is going numb, or has been going numb, about from hip waist down to my knee, and it's just gone numb. And I started having extreme pelvic pain and abdominal pain while I was at work. And I informed one of the ladies that I work with. I was like, hey, I'm in a lot of pain. This is really hurting. I pushed through work, but I was in quite a bit of pain. Then the doctor called me the next morning and she said, hey, your HCG levels went up to a 480. I think you're having an ectopic pregnancy. And I confirmed, I said that makes sense because of the leg numbing, or the numbing in my leg and the pelvic abdominal pain. So I rushed to the hospital that day and I called Kyle. I was freaking out. I was like, SOS, you need to come to the hospital right now. So Kyle ends up showing up to the hospital and the doctor does another ultrasound, and this time they're looking for an ectopic pregnancy. They find the ectopic pregnancy and they say that it's 4 centimeters by 3 centimeters long, or big, like long. And it is they claim that it's in my right ovary. They have to call a different hospital because they don't have an OBGYN on staff. So they wanted to get a second opinion from another hospital, and that hospital told them that it doesn't require surgery. They can just go ahead and give me the methotrexate. Methotrexate is a cancer drug. It was originally for stopping cancer. It is commonly used in ectopic pregnancy. So what it does is it stops cells from growing. It stops cells from reproducing. So it would essentially just kind of kill off the ectopic pregnancy. So in a way, he was asking me to kill my baby. And that really hurts a lot because I found out I was pregnant. I got overjoyed with that. I already grieved, or I found out that I had a miscarriage, and we were grieving that. And then to have to find out that I'm still actively pregnant, my baby is still growing in my body, just in the wrong place, but I have to make the decision to terminate. That was really rough. So essentially I told the doctor no. I said, no, I will not be taking that drug. I'm sorry. And I was kind of delusional at this point. I wanted my child. I wanted a baby. Then after discussions with me and Kyle and a couple friends and stuff, we realized, or I realized, because I guess Kyle kind of realized the whole time, but I realized that neither one of us would survive this. The ectopic pregnancy, it would kill my baby, but it would also kill me. So I really had to take the methotrexate in order to survive. So from there, they gave me the methotrexate. It was 2 shots in both legs, 1 in both legs. And they sent me home and told me to take some time off of work.
So yeah, they pretty much sent her back home on her way after they gave her the shots, and 2 days later, things really took a dark turn out of nowhere. It was like, 3 in the morning? What'd you say?
Well, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was really hurting pretty bad, but I ended up going back to sleep, and then at 5 o'clock, I woke up again.
Yeah, so she woke up at like 5 and was in extreme pain, and it kind of woke me up because I heard her like kind of breathing heavy and crying and whatnot, and she was kind of hunched over the bathroom sink. So I got up and she was saying that she was in a lot of pain. I asked her if she wanted me to call her an ambulance because it was 5 in the morning and I didn't really know what direction it was going to go because I had to work literally 2 hours later. So I was going to get her an ambulance, and she was kind of dismissive and said, no, like, I'll be fine. And I could tell once she said she was starting to get really, really warm and she ended up collapsing. Obviously, I'm calling 911. So I called 911. They get here. They check her heart rate.
My blood pressure had dropped so low. That's why I was kind of in and out. That's when they wanted to rush me to the hospital. They kind of had hints that I was having internal bleeding at that point. So when I got to the hospital, they put me in a room and they wanted to do a ultrasound on my stomach, and the doctor kind of gasped when she sees the bleeding in my stomach and how much blood there was. And they tell me, they're like, we're gonna have to rush you into an emergency surgery because you have so much blood in your stomach. So they went ahead and just rushed me into surgery. They tried to do a laparoscopic, which, if you don't know, it's when they go through the belly button to minimize scarring, but there was so much bleeding in my stomach that it failed. They weren't able to see anything. They weren't able to see what they needed to see laparoscopically, so they had to call a different doctor in, or a different surgeon in, and open me up from down by my pelvic area. So they opened me up. They removed the fallopian tube, which it turned out that's where the ectopic pregnancy was. The ectopic pregnancy was on my fallopian tube, not on my ovary. So I did get to keep my ovary, but I lost a fallopian tube. So when I came out of anesthesia, it hurt. Everything hurt so bad. And I was so scared that I woke up during surgery. I started yelling at the nurses. I was like, please just put me back under.
So at this point, I got to the hospital and she's out of surgery. She's in and out of it, but overall, the recovery process in the hospital went relatively smoothly. I say relatively because that one incident in the bathroom, not gonna go there, but at that point, a few days later, she was discharged from the hospital. But all of this really could have been avoided if the first doctor took things more serious, all the way down to from when she should have gotten a pregnancy test done.
There was multiple things that were done incorrectly and outside of standard practice. with this whole situation, and it was really just one hospital that wasn't taking the time with me they should have taken. So the pregnancy test, when I came in and I told them multiple times that there is a definite possibility I could be pregnant, that was a week or two before I actually found out that I was pregnant. So everything could have been monitored a little bit closer, 2 weeks in advance.
Yep. So this is like literally why, if you know your body, at the end of the day, you know your body even beyond doctors. And I would say that this story and this experience that we dealt with just proves that if you notice something is wrong with your body, know your gut. And if doctors are saying one thing, always get a second opinion, or like see what else can be done, and really advocate for yourself. Because like we said, like these things could have been avoided, and they were all such simple mistakes that should not have happened.
So whenever they found the uterus that showed no signs of pregnancy, and there's a difference between an empty uterus and a uterus that shows no signs of pregnancy. Because you can have an empty uterus, but it will have the gestational sac in it. There's certain things it'll have regardless of whether you have a miscarriage or not. So when they saw the uterus with no signs of pregnancy, they should have done a follow-up ultrasound.
Especially because her pregnancy levels were high. Her pregnancy levels wouldn't have been high if there was no sign of pregnancy. Yeah. She was 100% pregnant because those levels were up.
Right. So they should have done another ultrasound there, and they did not. Then when they did the methotrexate, so if your ectopic pregnancy is over 3.5 centimeters, you're supposed to resort to surgery, and they did not. They did the methotrexate. They knew that the methotrexate takes 2 to 3 days to work. It takes 3 days to start working. Not even just to start working, it takes 3 days to start working. I did not have 3 days. My ectopic pregnancy was far too large that surgery should have been performed right then and there.
She was advocating herself in a way that she knew every time something felt wrong, rather than just hanging around and, oh, well, the doctor said it was just this or just that. Instead, she was like, nope, this is not right. I'm going to go to the hospital. And It's just unfortunate that these doctors were just giving us little pieces of, oh, well, it might be this, it might be that. And it was so much bigger than that and ended in a rupture. And then after that, like once she was recovering, I think you were definitely having like PTSD and all types of things from it, because being told that, oh, like it's just this, it's just that, and then it would be much more. Once she finally was out of surgery and everything really was okay, she still was not at ease with the answer. Like at one point she was saying, I don't think they took the right tube. I don't think they took the right this. I think the pregnancy is still in there. And it was to the point where like mentally she was kind of, because of how the doctors were doing her wrong all this time. And pretty much now, to wrap this up, where does that bring us to today? Do we still have a chance to get pregnant again? What was the wait time and things like that? When we were in the hospital, we did ask the doctor, does this mean that we can't have kids anymore? Is she at risk? And believe it or not, he said her chances may actually be higher now that she only has one fallopian tube rather than two. And also the wait time, they said, I mean, really, realistically, you can do it whenever, but it would be smart to wait 3 to 6 months, preferably 6 months, because your body is healing from a major surgery. Obviously, 100% I want a baby, but it's about her body and her choice to me at the end of the day. So, I mean, I'm just going with if she feels comfortable, and we just kind of go from there. Drop some comments down below if you do have any questions, or if you can relate to this, if you have your own story to tell.
So before we close out this video, I did want to reach out to you guys and say I appreciate everything that you have done for us and, with us throughout this journey. One thing that I even told Kyle that I really enjoyed, or not really enjoyed, but found a lot of comfort in your guys' stories and your relatable situations. And it really brought me hope to see so many people that have went through a similar situation to now have their rainbow baby or to have their miracle baby afterwards, and everything was okay at the end of it. That really brought me a lot of comfort in this whole situation, and I wanted to say thank you.
We appreciate you. That wraps up this video. Thank you for coming on my little my little YouTube channel. She really isn't big into being on camera, so and it's about the thunderstorm. She really isn't big into like being in the spotlight, so round of applause to her. Until next time, peace.